and gentlemen, welcome to Beyond the Ropes, the Evolution of Thunder. This is Lee Michaelson, your President of Talent Relations here at the SMIW, and I have here today with me the three-time reigning United States champion, the God of the Storm, Nick Thunder.
Well, thanks for having me, Lee. I appreciate it.
Not a problem at all. Let's go ahead and get into this, shall we? Let's take a look back in time, about a decade ago, right at the beginning of your career. How did you first get involved with the SMIW?
It's an excellent question, Lee. I'm glad you started off with that. It's not strange to anybody who watches the program to know that me and Michael Ralston go back a ways.
Naturally.
Yes, naturally. And see, at the beginning, me and Michael Ralston, we grew up training together, and we always loved the sport. And he had started working for a promotion at the time called SBWF. And he gave me a call one day and told me I should come in and join the promotion at the time. And, well, I was more than happy to oblige. So, there we were.
Well, speaking back to the SBWF in those days, you called yourself Zeus back then. Can you explain that?
Zeus. Yeah, absolutely. It should seem obvious even with the name of Nick Thunder. I like to shake the foundations of the rings I enter. And at the time, I'd always had a fascination for Greek mythology. And I thought, what better way of shaking the earth than the power of what is Zeus, you know? And, I don't know, it just seemed to catch and we took off with it.
It was a good name. It was a good name.
I feel like it was.
Moving forward a little bit, like I said before, today you find yourself the third-time United States champion. Go back to the first time you won that prestigious title. Can you tell me how you felt?
Well, at the time, it was the first thing I had ever earned and truly deserved and had won. And it put me at the top, if you will, Mount Olympus. And I felt great, and I'd come in and I did exactly what I set out to do and shake the foundation of the SBWF and won that title, if memory serves, fairly quickly. And it was very exciting time for me.
It was very quick. You were at the top of Olympus for a very short time. It was a very short-lived title reign. What happened?
It is wildly unfortunate. There seemed to have been some discrepancies in my contract with the SBWF at the time. So, not long after I had won the title, sure enough, I had to hand it back while our lawyers figured out the finer details.
And that marked the end of Zeus in the SBWF at the time.
For a month or so there, just a short period.
I was just about to get to there. About a month after that, you showed your face, came back.
Yeah. Well, our lawyers did a great job at managing everything that needed to be done with the contract at the time, and I was more than happy to return.
Right? Absolutely. Well, after you did return, after that month away, you had undeniably one of the greatest U.S. title reigns of all time in SMIW history. Can you explain that time period? What happened? You know, the ups, the downs?
Not many downs, to be honest. It was a great time. It was a great time. It felt great. I was at the top of my game. Everything seemed to be working in my favor. And I was excited to work with the talent I was working with at the time. And it was a great title reign. I enjoyed it, you know, very thoroughly. As you can imagine.
One would. Yeah. Moving on, Ultimate Insanity 2007. You dropped the title, you left the company again.
Once again, not too much of a surprise really when you think about it, or at least when I think about it, looking back at it. It's clear if you watch even today that myself and our CEO, Dwayne Rothman, don't always see eye to eye. And I was reaching the end of my now revised contract at the time, and we couldn't necessarily reach an agreement with each other, and so I left. I went looking for possibly other promotions and continued training, and kind of wrote off the SBWF, and fortunately for me I did, because not too long after there wasn't really a brand to return to.
Exactly. So that's why you were gone for 3 years.
That is absolutely correct. Until I believe somewhere around 2010 or so. Something.
Yeah, something about that. Something about that. What was that time period in your life like, in between?
Well, fairly peaceful time. I did find a couple of even lesser known promotions. I worked kind of as a freelance at the time, so there was no real contract struggles at the time. It just kind of, popped up as needed, sort of ordeal. Continued training, love the sport. Gotta keep at it. Even managed to lose a little bit of weight there.
Oh yeah.
You can imagine that. Yeah. Ain't that something?
Well, now we find ourselves in 2010. The company's back. Here's Nick Thunder. Here's Michael Ralston. Here's Dwayne Rothman, the CEO. What was that like? How'd you guys come back?
Well, once again, I can always thank Michael Ralston for roping me into these things, if you pardon the pun. Always manages to bring me into his latest endeavors, and he told me at the time, much better new brand. They worked out some of the kinks. Dwayne Rothman himself had seemed to have worked out some of the kinks, and at the time seemed a little happy to receive me for the XWF. And it was a complicated time for me, but a better time for Dwayne Rothman's brand at that particular moment.
And I was just about to bring that up. There had been some talk back in the 2010 years about how your run wasn't so great. How do you feel about your run in 2010?
Well, be perfectly frank. Can I call you Frank? How about Mr. Lee? Is Mr. Lee better?
Mr. Lee works
Mr.
better.
Michelson?
That's fine.
Tell you the
It's
truth,
not
man. It was some dark times. I was not myself. In fact, I was a much douchier Zeus. Wasn't too thrilled about that, to be honest with you. Looking back at it, not so great. So naturally, my rough reign at the time wasn't much of reign at all. You can imagine. Tough period, really was.
So you came back in 2010, didn't do so great, and immediately the whole thing collapsed again. What was it, about 7 years before you came back after that?
Yeah, to be fair, the collapse of my period during XWF, I will blame on myself. I'm not going to blame this one on Dwayne Rothman. At the time, CEO might have been in the right. I was not at the peak of my physical or mental performance. And, we had our disagreements at the time. Same reason. The full 7-year hiatus, however, is because once again, XWF brand seemed to fall apart. Notice a trend there. Without the storm, there is no brand.
I see. I see. Well, all that being said, here we are. Back at the beginning of 2017, we relaunched the brand. SMIW's back. How did you get involved with the relaunch? Why did you change your name?
It's a multi-part answer I got for you there, bud.
Multi-part questions. That's fair.
Look here, let me fix that for you. I like that tie you got there. That's
Good
nice.
tie. Thank
That's
you.
a nice tie. I like the way you wear a tie.
Thank you.
Look, here's the thing. Once again, bless that Michael Ralston. Always seems to know how to hook me in like a frackin' fish, man. I'm supposed to be far above the sea, but he seems to pull me out of the waters somehow, some way, every time. And this time, once again, I can thank him for it. It's shown me and it promised me that This new SMIW brand was much better than any brand we'd ever seen before, and working with Dwayne Rothman apparently was much better from his point of view, and it seemed to alleviate a lot of worry I would have about coming back to another one of these brands. And fortunately, so far, he seems to have been right. You know, and after 7 years kind of being out of the game, more than excited to return to what is now the SMIW, and it's quite the fantastic promotion this time around. Feel pretty good about it.
Absolutely. It's wonderful insight. You can't get that anywhere else, folks. It's now, Nick Thunder, in this current day and age, your third title reign as the United States champion here at SMIW. How does it feel this time around compared to the last two?
It feels better right now than it ever has at any point I have ever held the title in any way. This time around, it was a statement, and it was a statement of a better me and a better return. You know, I've always chased the United States title. I love America. A great country. I love being here. Born and raised, of course. And that title right here, means more to me than even the World Heavyweight title. I want to be United States champion. You know, it's always been that way. It's always been the most important title for me to hold.
Of course.
And unfortunately for Lonnie Robinson, who seems to be a great athlete in the ring, and Michael Ralston even, a good friend of mine, I think, believe, and hopefully understand that I kind of needed to prove myself, not only to our wonderful, fantastic audience. Thank you. You're great. Anyway, I had something to prove to myself. And that was really important to me. You know, nothing matters more than self-image. And that was a big thing for me. And to even answer your previous question, it's also the reason for the change to Nick Thunder from Zeus. I had to rebrand myself, to put myself on the new level that SMIW has put itself on. Everything has gotten better, not just for the brand, but for myself. And I had to rebrand myself to meet those new standards. And that's why I decided to go with Nick Thunder. Slightly less humble. I've been humbled, you know, but I still want that same power and impactful force I intended to bring to this sport from the very get-go. So that's why it's Nick Thunder now.
And I think you've proved your point. I mean, every time you've left and came back, you bring a little bit new something to the table. This season has arguably been your best season ever at the SMIW, hands down.
Well, thank you for that.
A few more questions before I let you go. We'll wrap this up. How has this experience been for you, and where do you see yourself going in the future? What is the future of the Nick Thunder?
Well, the future of Nick Thunder is hopefully a great and glorious one. Powerful like a never-ending F5 tornado, bud. And hope to keep that rolling, hope to keep this title rolling as long as I most possibly can. I am now currently under the eye of the watch Mr. Michael Ralston at the moment, and I know how great of an athlete he is very personally. So I look forward to his challenges as Season 2 comes about. And I couldn't be happier, more excited for that challenge and for where we're at now and where I'm at now. And I feel more or less at the top of my game. It's like getting a second chance at living your prime. And it's a fantastic moment for me. I think it's a fantastic moment for our fans. It's going to be fantastic for the SMIW brand. So the future should be bright. Very bright. Like a very, very bright, thunderous crash. You catch my drift.
Indeed I do. Well, fantastic, Nick Thunder. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Beyond the Ropes, the evolution of Nick Thunder. I give it up for one last time for the American Fury himself, God of the Storm, Nick Thunder, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night.